I'm Elizabeth at Literary Princess, and today I'm doing a currently reading video. So I've got 4 books that I'm currently reading, 3 that are physical copies, and 1 that is online. So let's jump into them. This first one is one that I'm actually not reading in full. I'm only reading certain essays out of it. It is Women in Literature in Britain, 1800 to 1900, edited by Joan Shattuck. So I'm reading like 7 essays out of this. So far I have read 1 and it was interesting. It was talking about how women writers were constructed kind of in biographies of them after the fact. So that was really neat. Other ones include, let's see, we've got Remaking the Canon, Women and the Consumption of Print, Women Writing Women, 19th Century Representations of Gender and Sexuality, Women's Writing in the Domestic Sphere, Women Fiction and the Marketplace, and the Professionalization of Women's Writing, Extending the Canon. And then there's also some essays in here about poetry and theater and writing for children, but that's not really what I'm doing, so I'm not reading those. But yeah, this seems really good so far. Okay, next up, we have one that I am reading for my feminist theory list. This is A Literature of Their Own by Elaine Showalter. So this is a really classic piece of feminist literary criticism. I am, how far am I? I'm like 73 pages in. I just finished chapter 2. I've read parts of this before, but I've never read it in full. So far, Elaine Showalter has some great ideas. I already knew that though, because I've used this before. I do find that the way she talks about some of the women writers is kind of condescending, like talking about them as not as great as others like George Eliot or the Brontes. And I don't know, like that's definitely how the world kind of views it, which is why there's cat hair on the book. I'm sorry. There's cat hair everywhere in my life. Which, again, so that's kind of how it gets viewed a lot, but I kind of wanted more from her, but I think this was published in the 70s, so I shouldn't, 77. So I guess, and I mean, she still refers to like Margaret Oliphant as Mrs. Oliphant and Fanny Burney as Fanny, so that it was different. The way that criticism of women, literary criticism was handled was different, so. But it's really great so far. I keep taking pictures of quotes that I want to write down because I don't feel like writing them down, and it's a library book, so I can't mark them. All right, and then we have one that I actually just started today. This is The Mill on the Floss by George Eliot. This is actually a reread for me. I read this in high school when I was 14, so we are now reading it over a decade later. But so this is the story of Maggie Tulliver, who is a young woman who doesn't really fit in what a young woman should be at the time period. She's a lot more wild, but she kind of like she's always being called like bad, like everything's always her fault, and she's always getting messy, and her hair is crazy. And this is the story of her and her brother and their life on their father's mill. So I loved this in high school. I absolutely adored this. So I'm really hoping that I will like it again because my relationship with George Eliot has been kind of rocky. So I'm just really hoping that I fall in love with this again, as I did. The first chapter's fine so far, but that's all I've made it to. Haven't even seen Maggie yet. But I am thinking after I finish this, I'm going to do like kind of a author spotlight on George Eliot and talk about all the books I've read by her and kind of my thoughts on them. Maybe look a little bit at her biographical information. I don't know, I just thought it would be kind of a neat thing to do. Let me know if that's something that would interest you. So then I have one more novel that I am reading online, and this is Rank and Beauty, and we don't know who this is by. It is by Anonymous. So this is the story of Evelyn, who is a young woman who has just recently become a baroness, and she has gone to town with her father, who is trying to marry her off to like the best possible match. He's very concerned that whoever marries her be worthy of her status as Lady, and I can't even pronounce the thing she's pairing us up. I can't do it. It's like Uma Frelville or something. I have no idea. But so this is a Victorian novel published in 1856, and it's one of the novels that George Eliot criticizes in her essay, Silly Novels by Lady Novelists. So because I'm looking at women's popular literature, I wanted to take a look at these because these are books that we don't read anymore, but that had just come out at the time and were popular, and that George Eliot is kind of like ripping apart, but we don't read them anymore. Like, that seems so unfair. We should at least see what they're about. So I'm here to see what they're about. It's not great so far. It's not awful. I'm having a hard time telling if the author is trying to write like satirical social commentary though. Like with the way that the father is so concerned with the rank and is this person's heritage good enough? Like, are their ancestors good enough to marry my daughter? And do they have enough money and all this? It seems kind of similar to, is it Sir Eliot in Persuasion? Anne Eliot's father. I think he's Sir something. I don't remember what he is, what his name is. But it seems kind of similar to him, and that was most definitely satire, but I can't tell if this is satire or not. So I'm kind of waiting. I am about 90 pages in right now. It's like a 350-page book. So we'll see what happens. All right, and those are the 4 books that I am currently reading. Let me know down in the comments below. Have you read any of these? What did you think? What are you currently reading? It's been great chatting with you. I will see you soon. Bye.